Hi guys, welcome to another Florida tips video. This has been one of our most requested videos to do, and it's about DVC, or Disney Vacation Club. Now, we've been on the DVC tour, so we found out a lot about it then, and then Nick came home and researched it all. So I'm going to let Nick do most of the talking on this one because he likes the facts and the figures and the research.
Yeah, we knew nothing about DVC at the point when we went in March.
No.
And when we were there, we learned a hell of a lot and did a lot of research when I was there. And then I studied it and did the maths and did the number crunching and things like that when we got home.
We were very tempted after the DVC tour.
Yeah.
But I would say don't sign up after you've done the DVC tour, because you're currently when you're hyped up, you're in Disney and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is great. Go home, work it out, and we'll tell you now what we have found out when we came home and worked it out.
And we will give you some examples of figures and things like that for the resort that we went to, and you can have a bit of an understanding, and hopefully it'll make sense. There's a lot to cover, and we're going to do this like Lee's actually interviewing me. So I've got loads of notes here, but it all kind of ties in. So Lee's going to ask the questions, and for anybody that's wanting to know what's on the TV, it's the Disney Hotel TV. If you stayed in Disney, you'll see that there's
the screensaver that's on all the TVs in Disney, showing their opening times and things like that. You can get it on YouTube.
So if you want to get that on YouTube, just search for WDW Hotel TV, and there's loads on there.
Yeah. So, Nick.
Right.
What is DVC? Explain that. Because like I said, when we went in January, we didn't have a clue what DVC was.
Well, he probably still doesn't have a clue. So I'll explain it now as if it's...
What is DVC?
Right, so DVC is basically timeshare. Disney don't like the term because it has a bad reputation, especially amongst Brits, because of lots of things that happened in the 80s and 90s with timeshares
in Spain
going bust and things like that. So Disney don't use the term, but in effect it is timeshare. It's not something that you would think, ooh, I mean a lot of people would, but the Disney one, being Disney, it's well thought out and it's very, very flexible. The difference between Disney and a traditional timeshare is that DVC is a points-based system rather than a physical building that you share with someone. So you get a bunch of points each year that you can use to spend in hotels within Disney, and those points you get every year, and you can bank and borrow and things like that. Right, so let me just have a quick flick through my notes. So if you've got points, you can use them in any of the array of resorts within Disney at all. So Old Key West, Copper Creek, Wilderness Lodge, Animal Kingdom Lodge. Each hotel within Disney has an allocated set of rooms that are allocated to DVC, and some resorts are purely DVC only.
Like Saratoga Springs?
Yeah, Old Key West and Bay Lake Towers.
Yep,
so
are completely DVC.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so how do points work then? Explain that.
Right, so the best way to think about points is as if it was money. So imagine a room in, let's say you've got the penthouse suite overlooking a lake in the biggest resort with the biggest flashiest accessories within a room. It's going to cost you more points than a basic room in a basic resort. And that's how it works. It's basically as if it's its own currency, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. So if you want to know how much it would cost to stay in a certain resort in a certain room, if you Google for DVC point charts, there's loads of things out there, and the cost per room depends on the time of year, the size of the room, and where you're staying. Just like it would do if you were staying in a big flash hotel in the centre of London.
So it's seasonal, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you go in January, in winter,
it'll cost you less.
It'll cost you less. You get more of a bargain. If you go in summer, they put the point price up.
Yep. So the next question would be, where do you get the points from? So the points are basically, you buy points and you buy, you do an initial investment to Disney, and they give you an allocated set of points, and you get those points every single year to use on holidays or spend on rooms. And you can have small cheap rooms or you can have expensive ones. Right, so you basically do the investment, you get the points each year, and you can basically bank and borrow points. So if you're not going to visit Disney one year, you can actually transfer your points forward a year. Or if you've not got enough points this year, you can actually take them from next year. So you can get better and more exclusive stays and things like that. So if you are only planning on visiting Disney once every 2 years, you'll have the option of banking and borrowing. If you're going every year, you're going to have a lower standard of accommodation unless you've got lots and lots of points to buy them each year.
So if you fancy staying in the Grand Floridian more often, you probably have to go every 2 years, wouldn't you? Unless you're
stinking rich and you've got enough to go every year for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you can only bank it for 1 year, can't you?
You can only bank 1 year and you can only borrow 1 year.
You can't bank for 5 years and get a Polynesian bungalow.
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
Unfortunately.
So the minimum number of points that you can purchase is 75. I don't think there's an upper limit on maximum, is there?
No, but if you bought 75 points, you won't get much.
No, you get a week in the cheapest resort probably for 75 points a year.
No, it's not
And
bad.
we'll come on to. I mean, some people would be happy with that, but for most people, you would want generally 2 weeks, especially if you're doing a long haul flight. And we will come right at the end. We have got an example of a particular resort on a particular time of year and what the actual costs are going to be. So a home resort is where you buy your points in a particular location based on its price. So if you bought at, let's say, Copper Creek Villas, is it Copper Creek Villas?
In Wilderness Lodge.
Copper Creek at Wilderness Lodge. I think the current price as of March was $188 a point. I think Old Key West was $166. I'm not sure, but every resort and every point has a different value. If it's your home resort, all that means is that you get priority on booking for anybody else. So if you've got points, let's say in Old Key West, you can still book at the Grand Floridian. There's nothing to stop you. The only thing is all the Grand Floridian home resort people get priority over you.
They get 11 months.
They get 11 months to book it in advance. You can use your points anywhere at the 7 months point.
Yeah.
But if your home resort is Old Key West, you can use those points 11 months in advance.
So if you know you've got a resort which you definitely want to stay at every year and don't want to go anywhere else,
you need to make that your home resort.
Yeah, you need to make that your home resort.
Because then you'll get 11 months to book it.
Yeah.
Now, if you try to, because Grand Floridian, there's not like that many rooms available for DVC, it's very unlikely that you would actually get a 7 months out booking at Grand Floridian. So, but larger resorts like Old Key West, you could probably, if you had Saratoga Springs, let's say, and you wanted to stay at Old Key West 1 year, at 7 months you can very likely going to get what you want.
Yeah.
And you can book them at any time online through the DVC website.
Yeah. So we were gonna, when we were thinking about it, we were gonna make probably Wilderness Lodge our home resort, because that's
the one we saw.
That's the one we saw. We loved it, and for us to buy at Wilderness Lodge, Copper Creek, it was going to be $188.
It's $188 a point.
So for us to get that home resort, that's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything else we need to know about points? Once you buy the points, is that it? Can you go to Disney every year?
You can do, but unfortunately you have to pay a fee per point per year, which is effectively like a service charge. So again, giving an example of Copper Creek, I think it was $7.83 a year per point. So if you've got 100 points, then it's obviously, do the maths. You've got to factor that in the fact that you've got to keep paying that every year just to keep the resort clean and pay for the staff. And it's like a service charge. If you live in an apartment, you have to pay a service charge. It's very much the same. And different resorts have different annual maintenance fees. So Vero Beach down on the east coast of Florida has a lot higher service charge than staying in one of the resorts in Disney. Mainly because it's on the beach and obviously there's a lot of bad weather there, so the costs for maintaining that resort are going to be a lot higher. Yeah. So you pay more in your maintenance fees. And as I said, if you look on the website and look up maintenance fees for DVC, you'll get a list of per point annual maintenance per resort. Now, Disney call them dues, so when you Google it, if you can't find it, just search the word dues.
Yeah. So you brought up another little point there, is that all DVC resorts, they're not just in Florida, are they?
No, there's the Grand Californian in LA. There's, I can't even pronounce it, there's one in Hawaii that starts with A, but I won't even try and pronounce that.
There's one on the beach, like you say, in Florida.
Yeah, and you can also use them through other timeshare networks, the RCI system, which I don't understand at all. I've not even looked into it.
Disney Cruises as well.
You can, but you don't get a very good
rate. You use a
rate.
lot of points because that includes all your food and drink as well.
Yeah, so I think you could probably wipe out 2 or 3 years points for a week stay maybe on there. Yeah. So we've not looked into that, we've just looked into the Disney resorts around the United States basically.
Yeah, you can't use it at Disneyland Paris.
No, you can't.
Or Shanghai, Disney, things like that.
Not yet, they might.
Maybe.
So.
Right, so once we've bought us points and the initial outlay is done, how long can I go to Disney for with those points? Right.
So let's say you spend £40,000 and you buy a load of points. Those points are valid from 50 years from the date that resort opened. So for like Old Key West, which has been open 20 plus years, you've probably got about 25 years left. So if you bought today, you could only use them for the next 25 years. And then once you get to the end of the 25 years, those points are spent, and then you'd have to spend another 40 grand for another 25 years holiday. So the new Riviera resort that's opening shortly, that's going to open with 50 years life left on the points. So if you bought in there, you have 50 years of holidays at the Riviera or at any other resort, but your points have a lifetime expiry on them.
So you may think, well, I'm going to spend, say, like Nick said, £40,000, and at the end of it, I'm going to have nothing for it.
Yeah.
But what you've actually got for it is 25 or 50 years of holidays in Disney every year. And just think how much that would cost you.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is all the balancing that you've got to do at the end of it.
So yeah, at the end, we will sort of weigh that up and do a conclusion on is it really worth that.
So you buy it at the resort, and it's the lifetime of that resort from the day of opening for 50 years.
Yes. And then at the end, you have to reinvest again.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that Disney are actually offering people that are getting to the end of their points. I mean, the earliest one that's going to expire is Key West, because it was the very first resort to open, and there's still 25 plus years left on that, I think. And they're already asking people whether they want to extend. So.
Okay, so what if I don't use my points? Right, so if I can't go to Disney for 1 year, what happens to my points?
Not a problem. You can carry your points forward from this year and use them next year. Or if you want to go this year but you're not going next year, you can actually take the points from next year and use them this year. Yeah. So you can bank and borrow 1 year either side of your current points.
Yeah. So I've bought my points. I get 5 years in. I think I'm bored of Disney. That'll never happen. But just in case, I'm bored of going to Disney. But I've got 25 years left.
Or 45, depending on which resort.
What do I do?
So, it's a very good question, and we asked this question when we went on our tour. So, the number of options that are available to you is you can either vent your points out when you're not using them, and you can do that, and probably make a lot of money doing that, and then you could actually sell your points at any point as any point as well.
Resell them.
Yeah. So, the points actually have the same value as physical property. So if you bought it now and in 10 years from now, the points would actually be worth a lot more than when you bought them. Just like if you bought a house now, the value would be more in 10 years time for the capital of the house because of the rate of inflation. So I know some people that have bought Old Key West points for like $70 a point when it first opened. They're about $160 a point now.
Yeah.
So you could use them for the first 25 years and then sell them for the next 25 and get all your money back, probably on a little bit more, so the only thing you would have ever paid out is the maintenance. So then you've got to work out if that's what you intend to do, then is the maintenance going to be worth the cost of what it's going to cost to book a holiday separately to go to Disney? And we will cover that as another example at the end.
See, when you say it like that, it tempts me again.
I know.
When you say we could...
That's why I stopped saying it.
We could make our money back after 20 years of going to Disney. It tempts me like, oh, that's a good idea.
Or you could go to Disney every 2 years and have really quality accommodation.
And still sell it.
And still sell it at the end. Or if you don't use it next year, but you use it this year, you could rent your points out on the rental market. Yeah. And there's loads of websites out there that allow you to rent your point.
So the DVC rental market is very big, isn't it?
Yeah, you can get very, very cheap. If you don't want to invest in DVC, you could always look at DVC rental. And you can get a holiday at a reasonable price on there. Obviously, you're not going to get it at the overall rate if you had your own, because obviously your money is, the benefits are over a longer period, whereas you do a DVC rental, all you're doing is giving that owner just what it cost them for that particular period. But you can sell it, you can do the rental and then sell it after 20 odd years and still probably make a decent amount. And obviously if you do El Key West now and did it for 10 years, it would only have 15 years of life on it. So the value that you're going to get per point is obviously going to diminish as time goes on.
And if you find you can't go 1 year but you've got family who want to go to Disney, you can always treat your family to go to Disney.
Yeah.
Right, so I think that's all my questions done. So I think Nick's going to tell you some facts and figures and things now.
Yeah, and then we'll go on to a conclusion and then we'll do an example of cost, which I think everybody's probably just been waiting to find out, because it's very difficult to try and explain this because everything connects into everything else, and trying to explain it so it all creates a bigger picture has been the hardest thing. We spent about an hour writing these notes up and we've been like, oh, well, that needs to go above that, but it's really hard to explain. So some of the facts is, you would think after 20 years of being used, hotel rooms in El Key West would be clapped out or bangers. But actually Disney will strip out every room every 4 to 5 years and refurbish it in every DVC resort, well, every hotel room as well, in the normal hotels. So we went and looked at Old Key West and it looked like it was brand new. Yeah. And each one is themed based on the style of the hotel. And I think Old Key West is like early 20th century, late teen,
I mean, if you look at DVC, you've probably already stayed in a Disney resort anyway, so you know the quality, you know the standards of Disney is exceptional. So
the quality is mind-blowing, and that's why people want to stay on site. as we said, you can bank and borrow your points. So if you know you're not going to use it next year because you've got some other family holiday planned, let's say a wedding somewhere or something like that, and you can't go, you can bank and borrow. You can have multiple home resorts. You can have 75 points at Old Key West, you can have 75 points at Bay Lake Towers, you can have 75 points at Saratoga Springs. You can pull them all together and you can book any resort anywhere, but bearing in mind that you can only use 75 of your home resort at the 11-month out. So you can't say that I've got 150 points and then use it to book at 11 months at Copper Creek. They will only let you use 75 points of those because it's not your home resort, if that makes sense.
So you can do a year, see if you like it, and then if you really like it, but you want more points, you can buy more.
You can buy more at your home resort at any point. Yeah. Obviously, the price per point goes up the longer you leave it. I think Copper Creek goes up in June this year from 188 to 205.
Yeah.
So the longer you leave it, the more it's going to cost. It's like when you're buying your first house. As time goes on, it gets more and more expensive.
So the earlier you can get into it, if you're thinking about it, the earlier you can get into it, the better. Like Nick said, the people who bought Old Key West 20 years ago, quids in.
If they sold their points now, they'd probably get back about 30% of what and they've had 30 years of holidays as well.
Yeah.
So, right. So for the example, now there's a lot of maths in here, so we'll speak slowly.
So you've done it on Copper Creek, haven't you? Because that's where that's where we went.
Right. So consulting the points chart for Copper Creek, the cost to stay in a deluxe studio that sleeps up to 4 people in June.
And that's just explain what that is, because we got shown around that. That's a double bed or a king size bed, and usually like a sofa bed, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a standard hotel room with a little bit of a kitchen area.
So it'd be great for 4 friends if you don't mind staying in with each other, or 2 adults and 2 kids.
It's like a deluxe studio is a standard hotel room on steroids in the Disney style.
Yeah.
So I'll start again because Lee again interrupted me.
I just need to explain to people.
Yeah, we should have.
Don't forget, I'm the beginner DVC.
You what?
I'm the beginner of DVC. I need it all explained.
Well, you've still got something to say on the subject. Come on. Right, so Copper Creek in June for 2 weeks will cost 127 points per week, and that's 254 points for a 2-week stay a year. So if you plan on using your points and staying for 2 weeks in Copper Creek, every year it's going to cost you 254 points. To buy 254 points to use over the next X number of years, depending on the life that resort's got, it will cost you $47,752, which is around £36,732 as an initial investment. Everybody's like, yeah. But if you think about it in the long term, you've got, how much would you spend on Disney holidays over the next 30 years?
Well, 50.
No, Copper Creek's not 50.
No, it's 30.
It's about 30 odd years, something like that. So you've got to work out the life of the resort and what it would cost you for a 2-week holiday in Disney over the next 30 years. And this is what we said about you've got to be sure that it's what you want, because your holidays are fixed for the next X number of years.
So if you went to Disney for 2 weeks in Copper Creek and paid them, booked it on their website,
I think it's $650 a night.
You'd be looking at thousands of pounds.
Oh, it's about
every year.
5 to 10 more than what you would cost in your points value.
So you've got to think how much that would cost over 35 years. It cost thousands.
About probably 5 times more than what you'd invested. So the other thing, like we said, you've got to factor in is your annual dues. So the annual dues on 254 points is actually $7.83 a point, which comes to $1,988, which in pounds is £1,529 a year. Again, you're probably thinking, but that's actually only £382 per person, if based on 4 people, for 2 weeks in Disney every year.
After your initial investment.
After your initial investment, and then obviously you've got flights and car and things on top of that.
Well, if you're staying in Disney and you just don't want to go outside Disney, you don't have to get a car because
you can use Disney transportation, yeah. So £282 in dues per person per year for 2 weeks, which is a fantastic price. But you've still spent your £36,500 initial investment.
You kind of, if you spend it and you've got the money, obviously a lot of people won't have that kind of money. If you've got that money and you spend it, you've just kind of got to put that. You've got to write it off basically until you come
to sell it, and then you're probably going to get more back than what you've actually put in. And also as well, if you're an international customer of Disney, you're automatically accepted on their finance scheme as well. But the interest is quite high.
And if you get to a certain age and you think actually might not use these for the rest of my life, you can put it in your will card.
You can pass it on in inheritance, yeah. And you can also let other people use it. You can book it for, let's say you want to let your little old grandma go to Disney one year, you can book them. It doesn't have to be you that physically attends, you can give the points to someone, you can use them or allocate them to someone else for that particular stay. So that's a breakdown of the costs. So you will start to see the benefits from around 5 to 10 years, depending on how many points, where you're staying, and all these different factors. The quality of the accommodation, as we've said before, is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? I mean, you cannot fault it. If you do not get scratches on furniture in Disney, it's just replaced. If there's anything wrong with it, the walls don't have fingerprints on, the microwave looks like the date is installed, everything is absolutely superior.
From what we've seen,
yeah.
I mean, obviously we were showing around some show apartments, but I imagine it's like that everywhere.
Yeah. So the other benefit as well of being a member of DVC is that you get DVC membership when you buy points through Disney, which allows you access. You get the same as an annual pass discount. So you get discount in restaurants. You get invited to DVC parties only. So I think quite regularly they have a party on the top floor of the Bay Lake Tower overlooking Magic Kingdom. Unless you're a DVC member, you can't attend those parties. If you do buy your points through the second-hand rental market, which you can do, you can go and buy points from someone else. You don't get DVC membership benefits. You'd have to basically buy points through Disney to be able to get the benefits.
And that's Disney trying to tempt you to buy them through them, yes, rather than at a cheaper price through the resale market. Yeah. What you've got to consider now, if you want to buy it through the resale market, is they're going to start excluding certain hotels, aren't they?
If you buy points through the resale market, and you can get them significantly cheaper than buying them through Disney, the downside is you don't get your DVC membership, and any new resorts that were built from the 1st of January 2019 are excluded from you being able to use your points in. So Riviera and any newer resorts, you cannot use any resale points to book stays in those hotels.
Yeah. So if you wanted to stay in the new Star Wars resort when that opens, you ain't going to be able to. You buy it through the resale market.
Yeah, you've got to buy through Disney to be able to use them. There are over 300 other benefits. There's a list on the DVC website. I think a lot of them, when he told us that, was this restaurant, that restaurant, this restaurant.
I asked him if he could kindly list off all the 300 benefits, but as a joke.
He referred you to a link, didn't he?
Yeah.
So, thought the TV had changed. No, we haven't. So, you also get access to magic hours. You get access to be able to book your fast passes 60 days in advance as a DVC member. You get magic bands every time you stay, so you can build up quite a collection. You've still got to buy park tickets, unfortunately, so you don't get your entry to parks. You've still got to buy either an annual pass or a 14-day hopper, so you've got to factor that in. Yeah. But you'd have to do that anyway if you were staying in a villa. Mm-hmm. You do get free parking at the resorts. So every time you turn up at a DVC, they will actually say to you when you walk in, "Welcome home," don't they?
And that's even if you just walk in around the resorts to look like we did. Yeah. Because they kept saying "Welcome home" when I walked through the doors, and I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
When you book it, you get an email saying, "We look forward to welcoming you home."
It's just those little touches that make you want to spend £46,000.
Yeah. Or whatever. I mean, you can. I mean, if I do another quote, I'll do a quick quote here. Let me just have a quick look at Old Key West.
Yeah, that was for Wilderness Creek. Copper Creek. That was just because that's where we.
If I can get a word in edgeways.
That's where we did our DVC tour.
Apparently not. If I go to Old Key West, and we stay in January for a week, it's 76 points a week, which is 152 points, and I think it's $166 a point. So that's going to be an initial investment of $25,000. Convert that to pounds. About 19 grand for 2 weeks in Old Key West a year, in a basic room.
For about 22 years left, which is that. Yeah.
And that's in the adventure season, so that's staying out of the peak season. If you go in the magic season, it's 108 points a week, which is 216 times 166. That's $35,000. So that's £27,581 investment. So it's almost half that of Copper Creek. Yeah. And you can still stay at Copper Creek by using those points, but you can only book it 7 months out.
And you won't get 2 weeks at Copper Creek on those points. You probably get a week. Maybe.
Yeah, probably. So you might have to bank and borrow.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered all the questions, and everybody's probably thinking, "Oh my God, that's so confusing."
Watch it again, and
if you want to ask any
write
questions,
some notes.
Put the comments in the video below,
Yeah.
and we'll try and answer the questions if we can. But it is a vast subject.
Yeah.
But I would recommend that when you go back, is that you do book a DVC tour and have a list of questions that you want to ask the salesperson.
Yeah.
It's non-pressured; they won't pressure you at all.
And they do explain it very well. Our guy
Yeah.
did. He explained it really well. He really gave us the pros and the cons.
And the other pro is that you get free fast passes and a between $25 and $75 gift card,
Just
depending
for
on your
whatever
family
tour.
size.
Yeah.
So,
So I think that's it. So drop us any comments below if you've got any more questions that we didn't cover. We also have a Facebook group called The Lodge Guys Orlando, which is just to talk about anything Florida, Orlando, Disney, etc. So if you've got any comments and questions, go check out our group. You can put them in there because there's lots of Disney fans in there.
and they may be able to answer questions that we can.
Yep.
It's a forum for basically exchanging sort of tips and information,
Yep.
isn't it?
So that's The Lodge Guys Orlando on Facebook.
It's the Lodge Guys Orlando group.
Yeah. So check that out, and there's lots of lovely people in there who will also answer your questions on DVC or anything to do with Florida. They absolutely love it as much as we do.
Yep.
So thanks for watching, guys. If you're not already a subscriber, please click on the subscribe button to become a lodger. Hit the like button, click the notification bell. We hope we've given some people some useful information.
We hope we haven't confused you too much.
No.
I feel confused trying to explain it.
And thanks for watching, and we shall see you next time on The Lodge Guys.
Bye.